Hello, it's me, Catherine, again, at the great Best Western Plus in Mississippi. And I'm in just another part of the lobby. And I just want to show you all. I didn't look at this pretty color. It's a deep plum, purple, with gold, woven undertones. Oh, look at that. So cute. And it's like turquoise and purple. I might have to change my spot. I'm going to check the sound. But I wanted to talk to you about being equally yoked. And that's taken from, let me reference again because I can't see. I didn't bring my readers down. But it's taken from 2 Corinthians 6 and 14. And I really want to talk about that right here, right now, but I may not be able to. I wonder, can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to try it anyway and see how it works out. I'll make a decision later. Either way, you're going to see it because it's going to get uploaded. This is me and my coronavirus hair cap, unmasked, but I know I might need to put it back on because, like I said, I'm in the lobby. But I'm just going to read this sentence that I'm looking at. And what it says is, the term or literal interpretation of being equally yoked means joined with the same in agricultural terms. If a yoke joins two oxen together, they need to be the same in order to work together. Otherwise, they won't be able to accomplish the goal of farming or tilling the land. And that is true. It is an architectural term, and it is talking about oxen. You need to have them the same weight, same height, so that one doesn't get outworked more than the other. Now, it is used in that scripture in relationships, and in particular in marriage, to mean the same thing. When you're in the process of trying to select someone to get married, not after you're married, this is something you should consider before you get married. You should find someone who has similarities or is equal to you. Now, God has no respect of persons, so we're not referring to if they're or you or somebody thinks that you or they are better than. It's if you have similar spirits and similar beliefs. And the first one starting with how you believe in God. Do you believe in Jesus as your Lord and Savior? Are you Muslim? Are you Jewish? Or I don't know if I should correctly, different people say if Muslim or Islamic or Muslim. Yeah. But basically your foundation of your beliefs. Because that foundation dictates a lot of things. Now, in Christian faith, we celebrate our birthdays. In Muslim or Islamic faith, they do not celebrate their birthdays, your birthdays, anybody's birthdays. So, I'm just pointing that out. In the Jewish religion, I'm not sure, so I can't say that. But I did date a Muslim Islamic guy, and they don't do that. Now, he was kind, and where he bought me a gift to celebrate mine, but he said that's not something they do. I also date a Jehovah's Witness, and he said that they don't do that either. Now, that's what he said. I don't know. I didn't do research. I didn't marry them either. But I'm just saying. I'm sorry. I was looking down in the camera, in the recording more so than in the camera. But the point, I'm just pointing out some small things that have to be considered. Those aren't major things, because the foundation of your faith of how you believe will determine if you're equally yoked. Like, for instance, me and that Muslim Islamic guy, and I'm saying that interchangeably because I don't want to say it incorrectly. But he, like, okay, for instance, as a Christian Baptist, I say grace before I eat my food most of the time. I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but for most of the part, I do say grace. And when he saw me saying grace, he's like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm thanking Jesus for the food. You thanking God for the food? He laughed. He's like, that's funny. Oh, you thanking him for your rice? And I said, yes, that's what we do. And he was like, he just thought it was so funny. And he said that they don't do that. And I was insulted. You would think I wouldn't be. Because it'd be like, oh, well, you don't. But no, that was important. And I had to realize that that would be something that would be a problem, because I would teach my children to say grace. And he would be laughing or not in agreement. And that would cause a big problem, because we eat usually at least 3 times a day. And I would be doing that for any of the times that we would be together. So I knew at that point that we couldn't get married, because we had been dating for a while, and I don't know, that just never came up. And then I kept further investigating on what this would be, because I'm a lady, in most religions, the man is the head of the home. And I told him I was not going to change my faith, and asked him how would he feel about that. And he said, well, I'm fine with you being Christian, but my children could not be Christian. And I was like, really serious? He's like, yeah, my children cannot be Christian. They have to be Muslim. And I was like, but I'm a Christian. I can't raise Muslim children because I'm a Christian. And that's what I know. And so right there was not just the beginning of the end, but the end of the end. We just had to stop seeing each other. So even though he was one of the best guys I ever dated, really nice demeanor, just really good person. I mean, there was some faults there, and there would have been some big ones if I had married him. But I had to make that decision. And I think what helped me to even start learning to ask questions was I was friends. You know how you work? It's going to be men around in most jobs. When I was working in fashion, there were men around because I worked at a Donna Caring company, and there were men around. So anyway, this was a different job though, and I met this guy. I'm not going to say a name, but I wish I could say the name, because if I said the name, you would be able to tell what religion he is. But his dad one of the parents was Jewish, and one parent was Christian. I think the dad was Jewish and the mom was Christian. And they believed, the parents, that their religion wouldn't come into play in their lives, because love would prevail. And it is possible that that could be true. But this is how he said it played out in their family. It was him and I think about 2 other siblings. So 3 children total. And this guy was super smart, talk super fast. I mean, he could be on any infomercial or whatever situation and sell you some stuff. Because, I mean, he was a talker, he was a know-it-all. And I loved him for it all. Not to marriage, but just as a person. So he said he felt that his parents would play the children against the other parent for their love. He was, this was while I was in New York. He said he went to one of the best schools there and got a really great education. And he said he was an achiever. I won't say an overachiever, but you could tell he probably was in some people's size. But he was an achiever, and that he had the good grades, he had got a good job, all of that. But he ended up being an alcoholic and having to go into rehab because his parents, he felt like that made him crazy. And where if you chose to follow the parent who was Christian, then the parent who was Jewish didn't seem to love you as much. And then if you wanted to follow the concept of the person who was Jewish, then it seemed like he was a little standoffish with the parent that was Christian. So he felt like he was just always just lacking a parent's love. And I just can't imagine what that's like, being that both of my parents are Christians. But they were unequally yoked. And even though they didn't think it would be a problem, it turned out to be a problem. And I think they said they got divorced, but they ended up getting married again. So there was love there, but they never either made an agreement or compromise on how they were going to handle issues. Because as a Christian, you're going to celebrate Christmas. As a Jewish person, you're going to celebrate Hanukkah. Two totally different concepts. Everything's different. Colors are different. Concepts different. What you're going to do is different. Some similarities, some differences. And that's how we have to get along as people in the world. But when you're in your home, you don't want confusion. And that's what it was for him. And he had felt like he had to cut himself off for the world for some years so he wouldn't go crazy. But this is what he told me. It's not what I read. It's not a concept that I heard somebody else say. This is from an individual person's life. Now, as far as talking about other ways that people, even as if you're in the same religion, how you can be unequally yoked, is when you have a person who smokes versus a person who doesn't. Now, if you smoke, I'm not trying to judge you. What I'm saying is, if you got a person who smokes, for some reason they don't seem to think that smoke travels in the air. They seem to think that it can be compacted in one space. But if you don't smoke or you have asthma or something, if you smoke, it just, you smell it. It gets in stuff. It gets in rooms. It travels around the house, around the car. And if you're with a person that does that, it's going to be some unequalness. And I'm just saying, I'll say this to smokers first. Because I met this girl one time. She said she was interested in this guy. She didn't want him to know she smokes. I said, well, how long do you think you're going to be able to hide that? She was like, and her thought was pretty much until she get him to love her, and then he'd find out and he'd have to deal with it. And that's what people think. It's that you fall in love, you'll have to deal with it. Is that the right way to do it, though? I don't think so. But it happens a lot in the world, and then the person starts having resentments. But it's almost like the idea of the fish being in love with a bird. There's a child's song that talks about the fish and the bird that are in love with each other. The bee, it's the bee or the bumblebee or something. Anyway, something that flies and that doesn't live in the water, and they're in love, but they can't really be together because they're not equally yoked. Because one, the fish can't live out the water, or you can look at the story of the Little Mermaid. Same concept. So what are you going to do if you're in love with somebody that's unequally yoked? You can get married. And you'll have to compromise. And you'll feel like you're doing them a favor, but they'll never, ever think that you are. Because what they're going to think is that just the way I am, if you love me, you have to sacrifice each day to prove your love. And do you want to live like that? And if you're fine with it, I am too. I'm not judging, but it's a decision that you have to make. And you really don't understand the full scope of the decision until you're there. So you have to make sure that when you're looking for someone that you're equally yoked with, the point of it is so that you can accomplish a goal together. Some people don't feel compromised by that. Some people have parents who smoked, and so they're used to it in that respect. But if you don't want to be around it, the only way to not be around it is to not be around it. But it's a lot of questions that will go into that, finding out if you're equally yoked. There's so many things in a marriage that you have to adjust to in order to become one. Because some people say you're not equally yoked, being a man and a woman, even though that's what the Bible, in my interpretation, considers as an equally yoked relationship. But some people feel like one is weaker than the other. But it's the point of you each have different roles to accomplish the goal. You know, I thought this could be a short video, but I think I'm going to have to put some notes and some more examples to give you a full scope of things that you need to consider as far as what is to be considered as equally yoked. Because there are a lot of things that happen in a marriage. I started talking about this, taking on this subject in another video, and I really haven't gone through a lot of information to explain how I know. But I've been married for over 20 years. Okay, we determined 19, but with my husband for 21. The years of dating included. But there's a lot of more things that I need to add to this video. So either there'll be a part 2 or I'll do an edit. But what I've given you is good information because they are really good things that need to be considered. But there are a lot of other things that you need to ask. But some of it you're just going to have to deal with because it's part of life. One of the things I was thinking about is, like, if you ask your spouse, do they sleep with the TV on at night? Or do they turn it off? Like, I was a turner offer. My husband is a turner owner. And somebody's going to have to adjust, compromise, leave the marital bed or stay. I'll talk to you later because I'm in the hotel lobby and it's getting a little loud. So, and plus I don't have enough time to address it. What I said is I'm going to write some notes down and try to discuss it a little more thoroughly. I'm going to try to go through my years and tell you how we did some adjustments. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.